What's going on, y'all? It's J Small Reviews here, back at it again, this time with a recap of the Kings versus Queens 3 event. Just went down this past weekend. Definitely going to be a bit of a shorter recap. I wasn't able to take as many notes this time around as I usually would. I actually had an obligation that caused me to miss a couple of the first starting out battles of the event. But overall, I still want to give a pretty in-depth analysis of what I did see, point out some of the highlights. And on a night that had a lot of pretty clear decisions. It's not going to be that hard to break down the winners and the losers, but we're going to go over each battle, give it its own attention, and then go over what I considered a pretty bizarre main event. So to start out, I just want to address I was not able to catch Flames versus Jack. I was able to catch Jack's first, but I wasn't able to catch pretty much any of the battle past that. And then I wasn't able to catch DNA versus Official. I had some obligations I had to handle. I just wasn't able to catch that. But from what I've heard, I haven't gotten the chance to watch it yet. But Jack Boy did lose clear to Flames. It might be a little, usually I'd say it's unfair for me to, judge something like that before I saw it, but it's a pretty overwhelming, I'm seeing clear, 80 to 20 ratios on polls, things of that nature. So, Flames with what would, as of right now, is, pretty career standout win. I heard that she was fantastic in her performance too, so, I got to get my hands on either the footage or wait for it to come out, but definitely excited to see what she did. And then DNA versus Official, I heard it was somewhat of a lackluster battle. Another clear DNA win. I think he won 4,000 votes to 200 on the caffeine polls. And then everything on Twitter, everything I've seen is definitely pointing in his direction. So two pretty clear results to start the night. And then from there, I was able to come back and catch some of the battles. Next battle up was Clips versus Yoshi. Now, I had discussed previously... I thought this was just a mismatch. I think it's a misbooking. And I understand popularity-wise why names like this get put together on the card. But I think the battle reflects a result that was pretty predictable. And in the fact that Clips won 3-0, it was extremely clear. And it really came down to stage presence, and the difference in crowd control between the two battlers was as monumental as you're going to see on a card of this nature. Yoshi got the crowd off of her side. I believe it was in the first round. She had a weird thing about in the South kissing cousins, some type of strange concept, even that, sadly I didn't keep the notes like I usually do, so I'm not going to be able as good to just reference all the bars as I usually can. But Yoshi's first was very awkward, very up and down. While Clips' first was not crazy, wasn't a bad round, he had a couple haymakers that shook the building, as Clips does. But it was a pretty default almost 1-0, and from the whole battle, not that it was a bad Clips or a completely unserious Clips, but it was Clips at about 70%. So expect, if you're a Charlie fan, you want to watch this battle because you're a Clips fan, it's a solid Clips performance. You probably like it. I don't know if I'll be rewatching it again, but he didn't do anything crazy, but the battle is more about what Yoshi did to lose the battle. So first is awkward, and then in Clips' second, he brings out Z to drop out. Crucible battler, white guy with long hair and beard, and actually used him as a Jesus prop, fake Jesus. I'm gonna have Jesus talk to you, and boy, that angle landed. All types of bars, even the Z rapped, saying I can hear the screams from all the children that you've swallowed, or from my children. It was a real crazy angle talking about Yoshi's with the thought bars, and then having Jesus sit down and talk with her. So it really worked out. I believe even after that too. Clips was able to land a couple haymakers of his own that were non-prop wise, and to end it off, he did something about running a train on Yoshi, and then Jesus stepped in and says, "My son, I'm the second coming." Second coming of Jesus. So pretty fire, funny concept. Probably the highlight of the battle. But one thing I will say is that to start Yoshi's second, she did rebuttal it, saying, why the fuck would you pick a white Jesus? And it hit crazy in the building. She was able to own that moment. And I think, when I watched, I was like, oh shit, this is how you turn the tides. I mean, she hit a buzzer beater. She needed it. It just stinks that the rest of her second round just was not that good. And then the third round was a lot of the same. Just a very awkward performance. I know that she's very happy about the rebuttal. A lot of people are. And that was an extreme highlight rebuttal. One of the moments of the night. But the rest of the battle is almost admissible with how much Yoshi lost the crowd, how uncomfortable she looked up there, the way that she was delivering. Just a bizarre matchup. So Clips 3-0, and then that led into another battle with somewhat of a similar result. Our next battle was Casey J versus Verb. And a little bit of a flip of the rules here where Casey came out and for a card that has gotten, a lot of flack online, and even you can hear I'm not speaking the most highly of the card. I don't think it was the worst card ever, but it was definitely a bit of a letdown for some of these battles. But Casey J, who has gotten a lot of scrutiny for not winning, and I've always been a Casey fan. I think her material's there, but she's had some performance issues. She's had some awkwardness in her delivery, and she has been struggling to win. But she earned a 3-0 victory over Averb. Her first was definitely solid, pretty decent. I'd say probably the weakest of her 3 rounds, but it was cool. Nice opening, and Verb comes out. His first bar, last minute prep. I does this. I am a grinder. Believe that is word for word what he said. And he got booed. He got booed on his very first line of his very first round, and a lot of people are saying it's unfair. Even at the time, I think booing someone off their first line is crazy, even though he went on to deserve some of the boos that he got. And this was just a terrible Verb. I'm just going to say it off bat. There's not really too much to talk about with this battle. Really just a mailed-in rhyming words just to rhyme words Verb, a problem I've spoken on with Verb many times on this channel. So just know that for those that have heard me talk about Verb, there's not really a lot more for me to say about this, but he did get booed on his first line. But if you come out basically telling the crowd, I did last-minute prep, and then kind of bring back like a retro calling to the I Am a Rooster bar, well considered one of the worst bars in battle rap history, and easily one of Verb, if not Verb's worst bar. So a callback to a horrible low light, telling the crowd I had 1 minute, last minute prep. And there's a lot of aimless rhyming words just to rhyme words. In there, I'm sure there was good little pockets of material. Like I said, I didn't have it written down, but there was a couple times where I raised an eyebrow or two. But he wasn't able to put together good material consistently to the point that you can follow along. If he hit a little something, it would get you alerted, and then it would be a dry spot. Then he'd hit something else, and you'd be like, wait a minute, is this it? And then it would hit a dry spot. A lot of setups that went nowhere, lead-ups that went nowhere. Blatant disrespect he's tried in every woman battle. And, Verb being the misogynist, that whole role that he plays, the fact that he keeps doing this and losing to women is insanity. You could debate if he lost to Bonnie or not, but definitely wasn't a great look for him. I remember at the time and even now. And then he got killed by Hustle, and he's got killed by Casey. So just a strange approach. Verb is better than that. We just saw Verb better than that as past. So it's disappointing to see it, but Casey's second was fire, and her third, she was able to talk about a comparison between men and women, talking about, black women dying more in healthcare in the hospital, which is a very true fact. You guys go look that shit up. A very creative angle and true. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to her for that. So there was some elements that I loved. I think Casey had like an 8 out of 10 performance. She even rebutted and said, tonight is the only time we've seen you with some boos. Verbs always talk about bitches, but boos from the crowd, boos, your girl. So just I want to do nothing. I want to praise Casey for this battle. Great performance. She earned her 3-0 victory. Verb came on the type of time you've seen Verb on before versus, the Pat Stays and the Hustles. So another somewhat lackluster battle. It sucks because, I hope it doesn't ruin Casey's footage. Shout out to her. And then on to the main events or co-main events of the night. And that leads us into Tay-Rock versus Vixen. Battle of the night. Easily battle of the night. I was originally worried about this battle with the short prep, 2 weeks prep. It's not often that you see stars. I don't remember the last time I've seen Tay-Rock on 2 weeks prep. And I figured it would be a good battle regardless. I had it being competitive in one of the better battles of the night. But I didn't think it would be just this good to the point that it looks like it was a full prep month and a half battle. First round, I thought Vixen's first half of her first round was really good. I'm trying to remember because I don't have it written down, but she had a haymaker about Surf in the spaces, Surf gun title. She had a way that it came around, to Rock, where she's like, Surf will go from being in the spaces to caution backing everyone up, say it makes space for the paramedics. Haymaker, that was dope. She had a couple other great first bars in her first round. I'd say towards the end it tailed off just a little bit, but it was still a solid first round. And the only reason I have to talk about it tailing off is because Rock's first came back just as fire, if not more. Bar after bar after bar. Doctor, if you're going to be the catch me outside girl, you're going to see how the Doctor feel. And while I think if you actually look at his first, there is some OBC. Dr. Phil is what I'm going to point out. But I'm definitely going to rewatch this battle, so I'm going to take notes. But I do remember a lot of bars, and Rock's first being bars I might have heard before, but his delivery, pacing, and timing, and ability to take a concept that might only hit for an or we've heard before and turn it into a haymaker because he just performs it so well and sets it up for the crowd to enjoy. It's really, all-time great stuff. He's mastered his timing and pacing, and that's why you see he's like, you're a white girl, you can't beat me. There's a lot of talking shit between his raps because he's fully confident, he's fully comfortable. And watching Tay-Rock, especially at this point in his career, you're watching just a battler that is fully confident, found himself, and just keeps doing what he does over and over. You don't need anything new from Tay-Rock. He just does his version of greatness over and over, which a lot of elite battlers do when they become comfortable. As he's been comfortable, we could praise Rock forever, but his first round was just a superstar round. So, although I do think it's the closest round of the battle, I don't think he just came in and swooped it and just whooped their ass. I do feel like he comfortably won the first. He too tailed off a little at the end of the first, but I think he had just a couple more bombs, a little bit more material that I liked. Going into the second round, Vixen was able to come back, and this was her best round of the battle. Once again, came out firing haymaker after haymaker, but this time I think it was pretty consistent. I mean, beginning to the end of her second, she was in rhythm, she was landing, and just really a highlight round from Vixen. She had a line about, even his grandma knows the baby's coming. She dreamt of fish. That was crazy. I thought that was clever as fuck. I love that. I can't remember all the other haymakers word for word right now, but she definitely had a statement second. Rock came back with more of a lighter second. I wouldn't say it's a bad round, but I had Vixen taking the second clear. I thought this battle was pretty definitively 1-1 going into the third. And then as we get into the third round, I think it is the lightest of both their rounds. Now, on a night where there was a lot of individually performances, even those rounds are still good rounds by that point. So the third round of this battle is even more entertaining than even most of the card, even though I think it is the lowest part of the battle. Vixen takes some angles, more comedy-based angles about Tay-Rock being gay. And in her second round, she had a lot of shots at caution. I think she has some in the third, too. They were much better in the second than they were in the third. Not that it was just some terrible third. I think there was some entertaining comedy. It definitely kept the crowd involved. But in terms of scoring, definitely some stuff that was hit or miss for me. I mean, a gay angle tends to only go so far, especially versus Tay-Rock at this point. It usually doesn't land. We've seen some of the best try it. So it was a pretty third. Not awful, but it was like okay. And I think Rock was able to come back with just repeat punching. And even though it's his lightest round of the battle too, in my opinion, he just did enough where I think he overpowered it, where when it gets to the point that he just keeps consistently hitting jabs, okay, heavy one here, a couple cool bars here, eventually you just drown out the comedy, the 50-50 angle with just, okay, he's back-to-backing, he's barring her away, and then of course he's performing it well, performing it confidently, the crowd is entertained. So I actually had Rock winning the battle pretty comfortably, 2-1, first and third. But this battle, it might even be worth me doing a bar-for-bar breakdown of the battle. It's a highlight performance for Vixen. It was easily battle of the night, and both of these two really could split performance of the night for me. Nothing to be ashamed of from either of them, even if I have, one of them winning comfortably. To be honest, this ended up feeling like the real main event of the night. And with that being said, we can get into the final battle that occurred at Kings versus Queens 3. And then to get into the main event, Gichi versus Jazz. Bit of a strange battle, with this build-up, this battle obviously single-handedly carried the promo for Kings versus Queens 3 for a very long time. It was the only battle announced. And with Gichi about a week ago versus Clean Paper on GTX, I wasn't able to cover that battle, but Gichi came at what seemed like 50-60%. His second was great in that battle, but you can definitely debate that Clean got it. I actually do. On the rewatch, I had Gichi live, and on the rewatch, I actually have Clean Paper 2-1 edge over Gichi. And even that was a little bit of a weird battle in itself. One of the better Cleans, but overall, it wasn't a crazy battle. Neither of them went too crazy. But coming in, I thought that was a sign for him over-prepping and really putting his all into the Jazz battle. And one thing that I think just for me personally plagued the battle is just both of them trying to over-angle. And, for two people that I would expect to land angles like that, it just didn't work out. I thought Gichi's first, when he brings up the Jazz Dispatcher 911, obviously we knew that was going to come up versus Jazz. And I think the use a dispatcher, you could even say, fuck the police because you be sending them, to the hoods and shit, sending them. That was that was pretty dope. And I thought, like, in the beginning, some of these angles started to land, and then usually it's like the entrance, good bar, and then it's like, okay, he's going to build from here. But I just really wasn't a fan of it. They both had some strange angles about, like, fucking each other, something like that. And I wouldn't say strange, because it wasn't awkward. It was just bars that simply didn't land, angles that simply didn't stick with the people. And if it's not a bad battle, it's close. So I was surprised that would be the outcome. It's definitely a mucky, debatable. I know that some people, maybe on the rewatch I'll feel different. Some people have Gichi. I've heard Gichi took the first 2 rounds clear, and then people are giving the third to Jazz, a little all over the place. I really think the first is debatable, at least from my first watch. I didn't think either of them went too crazy, but I think they had some bright spots going here and there in their rounds. Jazz was able to cover a lot of different material through the battle. Had an angle about his teeth, champion of the year. You're worried about the wrong crown. I think that was in their second round. That was pretty funny. Brings up the tree, a lot of nutty block flips. Some hit, some didn't. Just that kind of battle where it seemed like nothing stayed. It was like a crazy round. It just was enough to not be a terrible battle. Enough bars hit, enough little moments here and there, but just nothing that I would have expected from a matchup. People were expecting this to possibly carry the card, to be that super elite superstar matchup, and I think Tay-Rock versus Vixen was able to give off that feel. I don't think this battle was. And by the third round, and you could tell the crowd's been restless. I know the crowd caught a lot of heat for this event. I think there was just a lot of bad performances. Maybe they were a little bit too involved here, took some liberties with the boos as the night went on, but overall, I don't think a lot of these performances are that great. I think Jazz versus Gichi was a battle. I think I know Verb was terrible, and I know Yoshi was terrible. I didn't see the first 2 battles, but I'm hearing that the DNA versus Fish was which I had actually predicted. And that, Jackboy really didn't come with all that. People are saying it's because it's versus girl. I don't know. It's a lot of excuses and stuff that I'm hearing. But it's just a card where the stars didn't align for that night. Doesn't make any of these the worst battlers. We got to kill them. But it's just definitely a weird battle with a weird main event that kind of like a microcosm of the tone of the overall event. So on first watch, I had Jazz 2 on edge. I had Jazz edging the first. I had Jazz winning the third. Thought Gichi got the second, pretty clear. I do agree with that, and you could debate the first. Maybe I'll change my mind on the rewatch, but overall, I don't even know when I'll rewatch it. Kind of a bad battle. But that'll be it for this recap, guys. Pretty regular event leads to a pretty regular recap. I'd say it's about a 4 out of 10 event. Personally, could argue 5, could argue 3, but pretty regular, not all-time bad, and obviously some really low-light performances from Yoshi, Verb, and then a main event that just doesn't cut out to be the main event it was promo to be. The start of the card I missed, but I heard it wasn't too much, greater either. What I will say is I want to give a special shout out to the performers I thought of the card, the top 3 of what I caught. KCJ, Tay-Rock, and Vixen the Assassin. I think the 3 of them really came with it, were great. Like I said, I wasn't able to catch Jackboy versus Flames. So, I can't give I heard she did great, but I can't, honestly say that, she's top 3. I didn't see it, but I will be rewatching that because, I'm sure that she belongs along the top 3 from what they said. But from what I saw, Casey, Vixen, Rock really all exemplified, how big of a card it was, and they came prepared. And obviously, URL's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start this year, but around the corner we have more events. We have UM5 just announced. They said the stars will return, so maybe a more star-studded maybe more like a UM3 as opposed to the talent building, the young talent building. That might be a topic video on its own, right? I want to talk about how they've done but usually is good, so UM5 around the corner. Gnome's got to be somewhere around the corner. It's summertime. This is where things start picking up for URL. So I'm looking forward. Card was a bit of a dud, but I think things will get better from here. And one thing I want to say, obviously this last week, I was only able to post 1 video, a little less than the regular. I just got some end of semester stuff coming up here. So I'm trying to pre-record some content, but, by the end of this week or before that, we should be into regular about every other day, every 3 days type of upload schedule. So thank you guys for tuning in again. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about the event, what you think for any of these battlers going forward they should do for the good performances, the bad. Just let me know your opinion. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.